right, so last time we built out this forecast using um, our toggle data that we discussed. Could be really any data, right? This could be sales data. You could pull this from your whatever time tracking tool you're using. The methodology remains largely the same. So what we're going to do today is we are going to take this current month forecast. We're just going to extrapolate that into a full year forecast. So first thing that we're going to do is we're going to figure out how many working days were included in each of these weeks. So in order to do that, we're going to need a couple of parameters, right? So we're going to need the month end date, and this is simply going to be the end of month date based off of, well, here, first, we're going to do this separately. We're going to filter on our data based on this start date where the current month is true. And this is going to give us all of the dates for the current month. Okay, and then I want the max date. So one date, and then I want to find the end of month for that date. Put that into month, day, year format. So 9/30th or September 30th is the last date of September. Okay. And so then all we got to do is figure out based off of that date, how many days in each of these weeks were there. So I'm going to say if the minimum of this date plus 7, right? So let's see what that is. If I take this plus 7 and do that all the way through, see how this takes me into October, right? So I want to go all the way to October. I want to go at max to this date. So I want the minimum between these dates and this date, so that for each of these weeks, I'm going to get these dates, and then for this week, I'm going to get this date. Okay, so I'm going to say if the min of that calculation and the end of the month minus this date, sorry, this minus this date equals 7, then there were 5 working days. Otherwise, take this calculation. Let me change these to numbers to make it a little easier. All right, so what is this saying? This is saying the minimum of this and this is going to be this date, right? So I'm going to take this plus 7 minus this date. That should equal 7, right? Basically just taking this minus this. And so if that's true, then I have 5, there's 5 days in a week. So it excludes holidays, but I'm a consultant, so I don't take any days off, right? The other way you could do this is you could have a calendar that shows all the working days in a given year. So you would exclude weekends, exclude holidays, and then you can just count if for this week how many working days there are. This just is a nice simple way of telling me how many weekdays there are in this week. So 5 for each of these, and then 2 this day, or for this week, right? I have the 29th and the 30th. It's that Monday and Tuesday. You can make these right justified. And so then these are going to be weekdays. Let's get that line item. And then I get a total number of working days for the month. Okay, what can I do with this? Well, now I can calculate average hours per working day. So just take this divided by this. So now I have an average number of working days per. The cool thing about this is if I do this times this, I get the exact same number as my forecast, right? It's a pretty reliable metric of projecting out into the future without really over engineering it. So now let's do a current year forecast. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is I want to give us a time horizon here. So I'm going to say, give me the end of month, starting with the first of the year. So give me the date for 2025, 1/1, January 1st, and then give me a sequence of those month end dates in one row across 12 columns, starting at 0 and stepping at 1. If I put this in highlight MMM so that I can actually call them by their month names and make those headers and just put that formatting back on there. So now I get January through December. Let's move this over a column. Okay. And then now I want to see the week days for each of these months. Now, this is a little bit easier. There's a fancy handy dandy formula in Excel called network days that tells us the number of weekdays between a start and an end point. Okay. So I'm going to do the difference between the end of month for this month 1 month ago +1 to get the first of the month. So let's look at what that's doing. This might be the array formula. There we go. So 1/1/25, right? So if I take away the +1, I get the end of month date for the previous month. I want the first of the month, right? So I want to add a day to that. And then I want the end of the month for the current month. So I would do end of month based off of this and add 0 months to it. So the 1st through the 31st. And so what we do is we do the network days between the 1st and the 31st. So replace that reference with our formula, delete that guy, and let's grab this format. 23 working days in January. Yeah. Copy that all the way across. And these are my working days for the year. Okay. So then now I want all of my clients, not just my active ones, but all of them. So I'll do all of these clients. Let's put them in alphabetical order. And then I need to determine whether or not this month is actualized or not. Okay. So what I want to do here is I want to do a test to say, hey, is the end of month for the date of my current reporting month. So this year, this month on the 1st, add 0 months to that. That is August, right? So I want to figure out if this is less than or equal to this month. Sorry. Greater than or equal to that month, right? And if it is, I'm going to say, if it's greater than or equal to, then it's actual. If not, it's forecast. Okay, and let's do that all the way across. Can I make that an array formula? I can. Look at that. Actuals and then forecast starting in September. Makes sense because we're forecasting September. So then I want to say, I really don't like how this is formatting. And I don't know why. There we go. I don't know why that wasn't right justified before, but get rid of the other lines. And then now we've got a nice clean. Let's actually put the actuals and forecast above the weekdays. Okay. So now we've got our line items. This becomes very, very simple, right? I've got, if it's actuals, I want actuals data. And if it's forecast, I want to take forecast data. So we just say, if this is equal to actuals, then let's just sum is our actual hours. So actual hours, here's where we'll use the month. And then here's where we will use the clients. And that can be an array formula. And then let's just do a place for 0 for here for right now. Close our if statement. So this is just giving me actuals all the way along, right? Now when I get to forecast, I'm going to get zeros, right? Because there's no actuals data there. And I'm telling it to give me 0. So instead of, the only thing I don't like about this is when we get a new actuals, I got to copy this formula over. So what if we did this? Let's make these references reference the entire array and get rid of that. There we go. That is what I want to see. So now it doesn't matter when we get new data. Once I tell the model what month to use using this little drop down, actuals data will automatically populate here. This will flip to an actuals. We will get actual data here. Okay, so we've got our actuals, we've got our forecast working. Final thing we're going to do is we're going to, for this total line, again, I'm giving myself some grace here for, hopefully maybe we win a new client or two, right? I'm going to say, if this is in AC, then just sum up this stuff. Otherwise, we're going to take the number of weekdays and multiply it by our exit rate, average hours per working day. Okay. Don't really suggest, like, well, I kind of like the decimal points actually. Let's just use that formatting, but make it black. And then this will be our year total. Okay, so that's our billable hours. Yeah. And then I got to make up some rates for these two. Right, let's call this 100, let's call this 175. So then our those billable hours. We don't need these, so group them. Let's make this bold, make these bold. And then we're just going to copy this again. And then this is going to be our billings. And so then for this, we're just going to do an X lookup on these clients to the validation page. Give me the rate. There's all my rates. And then I multiply it by these billable hours. Boom, they're all my billable hours. And then for here, I'm going to say if this is actuals, then sum these up. Otherwise, take this. We need to come up with a blended billable hours, so we'll do that here in a second. Take this, we'll just multiply that for 100 for right now. We can do, give us another column here. Shift you guys right, we'll call this rate, and we'll just carve out that. And then we'll do a sum product of this and this. Divided by. So this is giving me a blended hourly rate now across all my clients year to date. Okay, that black. And so now instead of multiplying by 100, multiply by this. This can be bold, give me a line, and then we'll format this accordingly. And there we go. That is literally how I forecast the revenue for my business. And this is really powerful then, right? Because now I know what I'm going to be billing. If I know my payment terms with each of these clients, then I can calculate what my collections are going to be. And this is super versatile. So I can do this with daily sales. I can do this with costs. It's a really, really powerful forecasting tool. A couple caveats here. If I've got actual revenue, I could probably pull this from the ERP, right? I could pull, or my billing platform, right? In my case, because I'm doing this, because this is also how I calculate my invoices. When I invoice a client, these dollars are going to match exactly to what I'm invoicing, and I do my invoicing off the exact same data here. And so these are always going to tie out, and if they don't, there's a deeper problem there that I need to be aware of. Now I do always check to make sure that what I'm calculating here, especially for actuals, matches whatever my total revenue was at the end of the month. So I still do that check, but that's just good audit behavior anyway. In the next installment of this, we'll actually look into, well, instead of sort of using this hours average to project out what my billable hours are going to be, we can actually use machine learning and AI to help us with that projection without ever leaving Excel. So that's what we'll go to next. A little bit too much to tackle there in the same video. So I will see you on the next one.